Hello, it's 4 p.m. and it is Thursday, the 17th of December 2020, the year that never ends, but it nearly has. And we're here to walk you through all the latest industry news and discussion from the world of video games. I'm joined by Dan Thomas for the news segment. Dan, welcome to the show.
Howdy. Hello. Adam, I'm noticing that you actually switched on your show voice after 4 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, I'm professional. Like,
It was good. I enjoyed it.
I have two voices. I have my private voice and I have my public voice. And this is the public one. Shall we get started with some news?
Yes, let's.
Kicking things off then with the Game Awards that took place last week after the show. Last of Us Part 2 won Game of the Year, as well as other awards, I should say, including Best Direction and Innovation and Accessibility, which was a brand new award this year. Dan, you're a big Last of Us Part 2 fan, am I right?
Yes, very good game. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, they did clean up in the awards, didn't they?
They did very, very well indeed. Congratulations to Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann and everyone else involved. Other winners include Hades, who picked up Best Action and Best Indie, and Among Us, which won Best Multiplayer and Best Mobile. And we're also really pleased to say that our friends at Hello Games took away an award for Best Ongoing Game for No Man's Sky. They put in loads of work this year and previous years to make that happen, so congratulations to everyone at Hello. And would you want to say anything additional to that, Dan?
Well, I feel like we're always gushing over them, but we do love them. And yeah, they did extremely well to get that award again, as I'm sure I say every time we mention them, like 4+ years on, still picking up awards. They were also in the runnings for the Best Community as well. So yeah, I think that's a really, really nice accolade for them and really well deserved. Yeah, well done, Hello Games.
If you missed the show, it's worth going back and checking out Sean Murray's acceptance speech because it's quite something.
It's fair to say he was not expecting.
He obviously did not expect to win at all. He's mid-drink at the point they cut to him on Zoom. And he doesn't get out of it without some mild swearing. So that's very fun to watch. I'll keep Jeff Keighley on his toes. There was also a bunch of trailers. The Game Awards is always this kind of hybrid mix of celebrating previous games and announcing new ones. It's almost kind of like a mini E3 kind of press conference vibe about it. Not a ton of stuff this year compared to the years previous. It's a pandemic year. We did get some exciting new trailers. Starting off, let's talk about Perfect Dark. There's going to be a brand new Perfect Dark. This is being made by The Initiative. As previously rumoured, this is a studio that Microsoft has founded in Santa Monica. And yeah, it's going to be their first game. And obviously, resurrection of a beloved property that maybe hasn't received much love in a while. Dan, are you excited about a new Perfect Dark? What do you want to see in a new Perfect Dark?
I'm not overly familiar with the original, but I am a sucker for a reboot. So yeah, maybe this will be something that inspires me to go and check out the original and see what they do with it. But yeah, I think it's good, exciting.
I think there's an interesting thing that I've seen people talk about is like, should this be a shooter? Because Microsoft has a lot of shooters. Like they've got Halo, they've got Gears. Maybe this should be something else. Maybe it should be more of a Hitman type spy thing. But The Initiative, I'm sure, is full of very talented people, and the trailer is exciting. So hopefully we'll see more of that very soon. Elsewhere, Turtle Rock, creators of Left 4 Dead, spelt with the number 4, have unveiled their new game, Back 4 Blood, with the word 4 replaced by the number 4. It's a zombie game, stop me if you've heard this one before, where you play a team of 4 and move from safe house to safe house, shooting zombies in the face, and the zombies are dynamically generated by an AI director. This is a new Left 4 Dead game. This is Left 4 Dead 3, is what it is. They've just given it a new name. Valve proving once and for all that they're unable to let any franchise reach the number 3. Turtle Rock have had to go outside of Valve and launch their own separate franchise to do a
loophole.
But yeah, I mean, Left 4 Dead, it's a great game and not one that I've played in a while. I know they had some updates this year made by the fans, but exciting for fans of that franchise to get a new title in a similar vein.
I think I love a lot of zombie games, and I think the fact that it is such a not overdone but a well done genre, I think it's interesting to see the innovations that people come in when they're like, we want to do a zombie game, but we're going to have to put a new spin on it. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead's definitely like of all the zombie games, that's one that I remember very fondly. So excited for that. And there's a new Mass Effect, which we knew for a little while since their recent N7 Day announcements, but we got a teaser trailer for it, which seems to feature Liara, one of the characters from the original trilogy, and also features a piece of the N7 armor that Commander Shepard wore in the games, kind of implying that this is a sequel, which is a strange proposition based on the end of Mass Effect 3. You wouldn't have thought there was much leeway there, but maybe they're going to create a new canon ending and build off that somehow. Are you excited for a new Mass Effect, Dan?
Again, I've not played a lot of Mass Effects, and I know you're a big fan, so I should acquaint myself better with it.
Well, you'll be able to in the remastered trilogy that they're working on right now.
There we go. I can get up to speed, and then I'll let you know if I'm excited for more. It seems like it's a game I would enjoy. So
yeah, Mass Effect 2 I think is the pinnacle for me. I love Mass Effect 2. I think it's great. 3 is also a very good time. I understand people's reservations about the ending, but as a total package, 3 was a very accomplished game as well. Speaking of hype, Cyberpunk is here. Came out last week, and it doesn't work great across the board in some cases, but especially on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. CD Projekt Red have now announced that 2 large patches are coming in January and February. And they're also offering refunds. If you'd like a refund, you're sat at home thinking that you want one, the best advice I can give you is to email helpmerefund@cdprojectred.com, and that's spelt with a K and project like the studio. And yeah, this launch hasn't exactly gone to plan, shall we say, Dan? No,
I think I was just checking before the show. I think the share price has cost CD Projekt $1 billion, 25% drop in share price. I mean, that's not hugely indicative. That will bounce back, I've no doubt. But yeah, turbulent. Excuse me.
Do you need a glass of water?
Yeah, I'm just choking over here.
You're getting emotional about Cyberpunk, and I don't blame you.
Yeah, that's it. Just no. It's yeah. I think it's not been the slickest launch, but still, I mean, it was so hyped. And as we were talking about earlier, kind of with No Man's Sky, it's fair to say that had a rocky launch from a perception perspective, and they've absolutely turned that around. So I think CD Projekt still have plenty of opportunity to make Cyberpunk what it deserves to be, and what I've no doubt it will be. And they do need to, I guess, look inwards, review the reception, pick up on the relevant critical feedback, just address it, and keep investing in it, and it has sold a lot, as I understand. Extremely well regarded, and it's still got a huge amount of fans. So it's absolutely not one of these dead on arrival launches by any stretch. So yeah, I think they need to. There's definitely some changes they need to make, and there's definitely some industry lessons to be learned. But I have no doubt they'll get it back on track. Personally,
yeah, it's an uphill battle for sure, and one that we hope they can accomplish. Also, sending our love to any CD Projekt Red developers out there who are maybe feeling a little bit deflated this Christmas, not the Christmas they would have wanted, working on these patches.
I mean, that's. I hope that they get given some rest and opportunity to. There's a long road ahead, as we said. No Man's Sky's been out for 4 years, and they're still improving and iterating on it. So this doesn't have to be fixed overnight. Let these people get some rest, and like I said, there's also been a huge amount of people who really enjoy the experience that's been delivered. So they definitely shouldn't just take all the negative critique to heart.
Let's talk about some acquisitions and some big money deals. So previously, Take-Two were poised to complete a purchase of Codemasters worth £725 million, and EA, Electronic Arts, have gatecrashed that, swooped in and bought Codemasters for $1.2 billion instead. Essentially, I guess, denying their competitor. I mean, Take-Two and EA are direct competitors in lots of things. EA swooped in to pick up Codemasters, who of course make a bunch of racing games, including the recently released Dirt 5, but also have like the license to make F1 games and stuff like that. So you can see how that would fit in both of these publishers' stables. And yeah, I guess champagne on everyone at Codemasters. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's a nice windfall for Codemasters, which is obviously a very studio or a company with a big legacy, been around for a long time. Really interesting. I mean, that literally kind of came out of nowhere. Is that what you'd call a gazumping when somebody outbids you at the last minute?
Yeah, I think it is an official gazumping.
Yeah, so that's really, I think that's really interesting to the industry as a whole. And that was a big step as well. So in a very short amount of time, I'd love to have been privy to some of the discussions and negotiations that happened. Kind of like that, that eBay moment. You're in the final few moments, and all of a sudden it just skyrockets out of control. So yeah, really interesting. It may be a slightly larger scale than me
eBay.
buying an old part for my car or something. I
think EA just have like an eBay sniper bot set up to just outbid everyone on any game studio purchase. Speaking of purchases of studios, Tencent will acquire Leiyu Technologies for $1.5 billion US. Leiyu is the parent company of Digital Extremes, who make Warframe, Splash Damage, who recently released Outriders for Stadia, and other studios, including a 20% stake in Certain Affinity, who have been close ally of Microsoft over the last few years and assisted with various Halo games. And yeah, another big money deal. There's a lot of money changing hands. It's like they're spending all their money before the end of the year.
It could be, people using up their budgets. I mean, it does seem that acquisitions are just more and more commonplace in the industry, which is great. Great indicators for the industry as a whole. I think I need to see. I don't know if you remember probably many years ago, there was kind of like an infographic that went around talking about the ownership of all the retail brands, like consumer foods and things like that. Kind of need that diagram where we can see the relationships between all of the money pits and the brands, and see who owns who now.
Yeah, it is. It's all Tencent when you go back far enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean they own a stake in Epic, don't they? As well?
They do. We talked about EA a little bit. One thing that's not gone as well for them this week is the EA Play on Game Pass for PC, specifically, has been delayed. This was expected to hit this week, but will now arrive in 2021. Game Pass for Xbox is unaffected, so you can already get EA Play titles on Game Pass for Xbox. This is just for the PC version, and very close to the wire announcement. I think it was literally a few hours before it was supposed to go live, they announced that it wasn't coming out. And obviously disappointing if you're a fan of those games in the EA stable, of which there are many. But hopefully they'll turn that around early in 2021 and we'll be able to play Titanfall 2 and Mass Effect 2 on Game Pass. Also part of Game Pass, we've talked before about the streaming function. So this is game streaming, cloud gaming, previously known as Microsoft xCloud. Microsoft has confirmed that the xCloud beta is coming to iOS and PC in spring 2021. So to give you some context, previously this was only available, or currently rather I should say, it was only available as an Android app. And Apple has blocked attempts historically to launch Xbox streaming on iOS, but they can't police the whole internet, so now it's going to be accomplished through a web app. It's going to be a website you can visit, and it's outside of Tim Cook's personal grasp. He can't prevent you from putting something on a URL yet. And it's available for free, as with the Android app, to all Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers. And yeah, it's a big step in the world of streaming. We've talked about the future of game streaming on the show before. This is a big step towards that because it's transitioning away from it just being Android to being basically all phones for all intents and purposes, and also being on PC. So you'll be able to stream games on a relatively poor spec PC. Are you excited about?
The interest. I've said before, I've kind of experimented with xCloud, and it is a very impressive technology play. I'd actually be interested to see, as they open it up to more and more devices, as we're talking about here, but also more and more markets. Be interesting to see some of the more mobile-centric markets, and if they they get on board and start seeing a higher uptake in. There's some huge volumes of people who aren't engaged with what we consider traditional console gaming, and that would be an interesting development to see that evolve.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned before as well, kind of the evolution of the software, the games themselves, how are they going to cater for being presented? I think that we already have lots of discussion around accessibility and font sizes and things like that. Are we going to see a step change in kind of set standards and practices for presenting content in a small screen fashion, but for a console level game? That'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I've noticed actually in the last couple of Game Pass updates, a few games have been updated to include mostly about touch control, so like new touch control mechanisms that work on the streaming side. But yeah, definitely more work to be done there, and more potential gains to be done there as well in terms of making things easy for everyone to use. Last up then on the news, we have our Games for Good story. So we always like to end the news with a story about how gaming can be a powerful force for good. We all come together and work together and play fantastic video games. And this year, or this week rather, our Games for Good story is that console manufacturers are teaming up to tackle online safety and take on abuse, basically. So Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation have all co-signed this statement, essentially. And I can read you this, actually. This is from Microsoft's statement on their website. They said, at Xbox, we're aligned with both Nintendo, on behalf of the community of Nintendo Switch players, and PlayStation, in our belief that protecting players online requires a multidisciplinary approach, one that combines the benefits of advanced technology, a supportive community, and skilled human oversight. And they're basically going to work together on tools, approaches, and methodologies for keeping people safe online, which is a valid and much needed, I would say, step for the industry to take, because internet's not always a nice place. It can be, but it's not always.
It's definitely a good move, and it's really nice to see the major players collaborating on it, because that is not a topic that you want to be seeing. Separate, isolated efforts.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing such significant forces collaborating, working together, you can really imagine the gains that can be made through that approach. So yeah, I think that's really exciting.
That brings us to the end of the news. We're going to throw to a pre-recorded segment, which is Tell Me Why, a game that also won an award at last week's Game Awards. You'll hear me say all about it in like 10 seconds time, because it's me in the video. But thanks, Dan, for joining me for the news.
Thank you.
And I'll see you on the show back in 2020. Or 2021, rather.
Look forward to it.
Right, let's do it. Here's a pre-recorded video. Stay tuned for Ben Joy and Steam changes. Hey, hello and welcome. This is Tell Me Why from Don't Nod Studios. This is on Game Pass. I'm playing here on the PC with an Xbox controller, and it's an episodic, narrative-driven game. Developed by Don't Nod Studios, like I say. And it's an interesting game. It's recently won an award from the Game Awards for Games for Impact. It features, if not the first, then at least the first notable from a major studio, playable trans character, and explores parts of the trans experience. Some dark themes and some heavy themes and some of the kind of emotional stuff that trans people go through, represented in the game. And I'm not going to show you too much of it because it is story driven. I might show off a little bit of it.
I need to ask you a few questions, okay?
The emphasis is definitely on story, and there's not like a lot of action in the game. Like, you interact with the characters and you control them and you pick things that they say, but you don't necessarily, whip out a machine gun and start doing anything crazy.
She had a gun.
Take your time.
If you're worried about spoilers, this is the very beginning of the game, so it's literally
out.
what happens when you press new game from the start.
It's okay.
No, it's not. It's not okay. My mom tried to kill me, so I stabbed her. I killed my mother.
let's get into it. Let's have a play. So if you've played games like this before, maybe you've played Telltale games or other episodic narrative-driven games, or even previous games by Don't Nod Entertainment, you'll know kind of what you're getting into here. There's bits where you walk around and explore an environment and you can investigate certain things, and then there's conversations are really where you move things forward. And you're making choices about what your character should say and how they act. The developers worked with the GLAAD on this game to make sure that the depiction of the trans experience was authentic and sensitive. I think it's reflective of a positive trend in games that there's room for everyone in games. There's room for all sorts of experiences, all sorts of stories, all sorts of opinions and viewpoints and perspectives, and it's nice for everyone to be able to play games that are reflective of things they might have gone through. Being introduced to the two main characters here, they're actually twins. They obviously share quite a close bond. And the plot of the game sees them return to an old home, essentially, somewhere where they used to live, somewhere where they grew up, and kind of explores their memories.
Okay, first, I'm gonna find the keys to the old house.
So I'm now in control.
I'm gonna drive to Fireweed, and I'm not going to freak out. Everything's fine.
Can look in this box, for example.
Oh, right. I stashed them down here. So that's where you've been hiding. All right. I think I'm ready to go now.
So obviously there's lots here that I could explore, and in the interest of not being spoilery, I'm going to skip as much as possible and just try and get on the road.
Allie, she's gonna be so awkward.
This is Tyler.
Can't believe I'm about to leave this room for the last time. Okay, I'm pretty much done here. I just need to grab my goblin and I'm off. Gonna miss these dum-dums.
Just to grab his
little
little
guy.
goblin toy.
You're gonna be reunited with your sister soon. Cool. I guess I'm totally ready to go now.
Let's head on out. Changed her mind about the teddy bear.
Hi, Tyler.
Hi. First time we see each other in 10 years, and it's hi, Tyler.
Oh, sorry,
It's fine, Allison. Hi is a good place to start.
God, it's good to see you.
Likewise.
You have anything else you need to get?
Nope, this is it. My last 10 years in a bag.
Then we should get going. We just have time to make the morning ferry. You look good in that.
Thanks. One of my mentees designed it.
It's really good.
Yeah, he's so incredibly talented. I got a couple of local coffee shops to hang his art.
Tyler Ronan, shaping the leaders of tomorrow.
Yep, we're screwed.
So, are you gonna miss anything about this place?
Here's an example of a choice, so I can say the food or the people, and I'm going to say the people.
Honestly, people. The other residents, my mentees, my counselor Aaron. It took me a while to fit in, but once I did, it felt like home. They made me feel safe. Safe enough to be me.
That's so great. I'm really happy for you.
We planning to drive to Delos Crossing or push?
You are welcome to walk.
Nah, I'll take my chances.
Need one last look or anything?
Looked. Let's go. Why did we take the ferry instead of the coast road?
Because I didn't want to be stuck in the car with you for an extra 2 hours.
Ha ha.
We have to take the ferry. It's the only way to reach Delos from Fireweed.
I see. Well, good. I don't think my stomach could have taken 2 more hours of how you handle curves.
I'm sorry. Do you want to take over driving while we dock?
No.
You're gonna have to get back behind that wheel at some point, you know.
Look, I put a fireweed van nose first in a ditch.
Hey, at least you missed the porcupine.
I'm
Yeah,
guessing things haven't changed much.
this is Tell Me Why.
You mean in Delos? Still the
Check it out if
capital
you're
of
interested.
East
It's on
Jesus
Game
nowhere.
Pass, so you can play it for free if you have a Game Pass subscription. And yeah, I'm going to throw it back to the studio. Bye. And we are back. You're watching the Etch Play weekly live show, and that was Tell Me Why. You can check that out on Game Pass if you're interested in finding out more about it. And I'm joined now by Ben Joy, who's bringing the festivity. He's bringing a Christmas tree to proceedings and a Christmas shirt.
Tree, Christmas shirt, last show of the year for Christmas.
Yeah,
Got to do it. And you like your Christmas jumper? Very festive.
I am wearing a Christmas jumper. Mine's inspired by a 1980s film called They Live by John Carpenter. It's a fantastic movie. You're not here to talk about that, though, although I slightly wish you were. We're here to talk about Steam.
We can pivot. We can pivot. It's fine.
Let's talk about Steam first. So Steam made
okay.
some changes last week to the kind of layout and the way that games are surfaced and discovered. And I thought I'd get you on the show to talk about it and talk about what it means for consumers, what it means for developers and publishers. So why don't you get us started by giving us a run through of what's new in Steam, what's changed.
Yep. So first off, just to say, in case anyone hasn't seen it, if we're talking about Steam changes and you haven't seen it, it's because what is being done is part of Steam Lab, so it's being done as an experiment. So you need to go a little bit out of your way to see the changes because it's still in experiment mode. But basically what they're doing is they're changing the way that you browse and find games to try and make it easier for players to find the kind of games that they want to play, and also to try and help developers have their games be more discoverable. Because I think one of the problems that because there's so many games and so many studios putting their game out, is getting their game in front of people. kind of the big ones that hit the headlines is what gets all the attention and all the cover space, and it's really difficult for a lot of studios and developers who are making really great games to get noticed and survive, because if people don't notice their game and aren't able to find it, they don't play it, they don't get the revenue, and then they disappear. And it's super important that they do survive, obviously, because we wouldn't want to see anyone fail. But like for the likes of, like Inner Sloth with Among Us, like their game didn't become big for a couple of years, and I read like Fall Guys was Mediatronic's like 132nd game or something. So these small developers that start small, and a lot of people are, well, they're not making quality games, like they can grow to be huge developers and make some of people's favorite games. So the changes that they're making or they're looking to make, that they're experimenting with at the moment, is how you browse and find games. So if you opt into the experiment, now you can rather than having a couple of categories, it's broken down into like genres. It's broken down by theme and by player mode. So I think all in all, you can find games with 64 different categories, and the way that the categories are worked out is by genre and theme. That is driven by the tag system on Steam, and that, as I understand it, can be done either by the developers themselves or it can be done by players as well. And the player modes, which is like co-op, that kind of thing, that is driven by the meta tags that the developers put in.
Yeah. And a big focus on categorization, like this kind of transition towards more specific subcategories, especially in the case of genre, because they've got, top level categories for like RPG and action, and then you can really drill into that more now in ways which are helpful and a bit easier to browse. I think it's about music as well. Like, music's really hard sometimes to put into a box about genre. So I think what Valve are doing here, taking a kind of multifaceted approach, it's like, well, there needs to be more than one way. It can't just be, do you happen to know the word Metroidvania and type that in and get those games. There have to be multiple paths that would surface that kind of stuff or give you directions to the kind of things that you like. It's exciting for customers. And
as you say, because there's so many niches out there, like what this change does is that it brings those niches a little bit more to the forefront. I was reading an article by a guy, Lars Snauset, who was involved. He contracted and implementing this experiment, and he kind of phrased it in a way which is really easy to understand as to why that you would look to do this. So from a developer perspective, if you're trying to make a game and you're trying to get into, like, say, the top 10 of action games, like, that seems insurmountable. Like, that's so difficult to do. But if you're a niche within the action genre, getting into the top 50, top 10 suddenly becomes more attainable. And if it's easier to find those people, it's easier for your game to get in front of people. And so it's a win-win for both the developers who can get their game in front of people, and for players who are looking for games to play, who rather than just being given all the mainstream games, can find hidden gems that then can become mainstream. Like Among Us was kind of a hidden gem which then became mainstream. So
and I think we're kind of assuming that this experiment is going to lead to changes for everyone on Steam. Like, that seems to be the way that it's heading. What do you think are the kind of the critical things that developers need to do to make sure that they take full advantage of these changes? Like, is it about those tags? Is it about making sure that your what's the word they use for it? Not genre, the other one.
Categorizing?
There's like two types of category. There's the genre, which is what kind of game it is, and then there's one which is like the vibe.
Yeah, so it's by genre, by theme, and by
theme.
player mode.
That's what I'm thinking. Theme is the word I completely forgot live on air. Is it about making sure those theme tags are representative and unique in some cases, or?
Yeah, I think it is. I think the onus is going to be on developers to tag correctly, make sure that they're getting themselves in the right areas by properly tagging their game so they show up in the right place. Because there's nothing more infuriating than like something that's miscategorized. It's like, oh, this isn't, this doesn't fit. Although, as reading, Steam have actually put measures in place to try, self-monitor the tags and make sure that games are being correctly categorized, so that doesn't happen. But yeah, definitely making sure the tags are in there and making sure you're getting the right tags. Steam have improved their wizarding tool to help try and combat that, so that the correct tags are being applied. And they're also issuing warnings to developers for their games if it's got too few tags, or it looks like the tags are misrepresented, or too many tags. So Steam are doing things to try and make it easier for developers. But yeah, absolutely making sure you're getting those tags in and that you're happy with them, that it's going to surface you in the right category. Now that the categories are broader and being surfaced more, yeah, it's making sure you get that right.
Mm-hmm. And do you think there's a benefit in, and I guess this kind of happens earlier in the kind of product strategy, but we talk about how it's so hard to stand out in games that you need to have, like, you can't just make a good game. You have to have some sort of niche. Like you have to, essentially, you have to be something that someone can describe, but also something that people haven't seen before, or at least they haven't seen it in the way that you're doing it. Is there opportunity here for like people to conceptualize games that take advantage of this structure and think, oh well, previously it would have been crazy for me to launch a dating simulator with this theme, but actually maybe now I could do it. Like maybe there'd be an easier route to being surfaced on Steam through that.
Yeah, I think absolutely, because you're right in that you can see that. And I think one of the positives here is that by broadening it and actually showing a little bit clearer as to how the games are being categorized or can be categorized, is even as, you know, if users are struggling to find games and not knowing things exist, developers are in the same boat. So you're absolutely right. The developer might have an idea like, oh, well, no one does this kind of thing. No one plays this kind of game, so I don't want to put my effort into it. And now it's like, oh, actually, here I can now see all these games that exist in this category, and people do play them and do like them. So that could, you know, empower a developer to do that. I think you're absolutely right. And I think what has been good with this change is, because it's always a difficult balance, because there can be so many niches and so many ways you can tag things and tweak. It's like, oh, things can start to stand alone, and what they're trying to avoid is anything that's only got a few games. So anything that doesn't feel like it can stand on its own 2 feet, or it mirrors nicely with another genre. They're kind of pairing them together. So you'll see things like, and my mind has now gone blank live on air. So you'll see like genres of something which is X and X. So they've paired them together because they feel like a natural fit, and it would probably be too granular to break the two apart. Because what each of these has as well, it's not just like you can click on it and a tag, and it's like, oh, here's all the games in this tag. Each of these has like the dedicated landing page with the hero carousels and the top sellers, and it's a full experience of like what you get for the top games currently on Steam. So that's why they've done that, and that seems a sensible thing, because it's always a balance of showing enough that people can see everything that's there without going so granular that it's overwhelming and you find nothing because there's too much.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I like how your mind went so blank that you forgot the letter Y. You said X and X.
Yeah. The pressures of live broadcasting.
I haven't looked at the updated list of categories, so there might already be one, but here's my question for you. Do you think, in the wake of successful games in the genre, including Cyberpunk 2077, is there a Cyberpunk genre? Is that going to be a category of its own?
Looking here, there isn't. So there is 6 top level categories, which are action, RPG, strategy, adventure and casual, simulation, sports and racing, and then underneath those are kind of like subgenres. And then when you go into the subgenres, then you have tags as well. Yeah. It's kind of broken down into that 3-step process. So
maybe more of a theme then.
Maybe. Yeah, Cyberpunk might fit into... In fact, you're absolutely right. If I move across and look at Steam, there is sci-fi, and Cyberpunk is one of the themes. So, like I say, it's broken down by 3. So you've got genres, themes, and then social and players, which is the platform. Yeah.
Cool. And player modes, just to recap, so that's about styles of play, basically, like multiplayer, co-op.
Yes, exactly. So you've got cooperative, LAN, local and party, MMO, multiplayer, online competitive, and single player there. That's what's being pulled into that category. And as I said, that is driven by the metadata that the developers put in. So that is driven by that. So if you don't do that properly, you're not going to show up here. Whereas genres and themes is driven by the tags, which is by the developer, but users can also tag games as well.
Okay. Any parting tips for studios to consider, or do you think you've covered everything?
No, I think we've covered everything. Like I say, it's really about getting the tags right. And just to finish on a point to really drive this home. So the reason why they're doing this is obviously to increase the discoverability of games. And this article by Lasdau, so again, he had a really good visual of like showing the reviews that games get, and obviously spikes where you would expect, like in sales and stuff. And a really scary stat is, which I'll just finish on. So, and obviously just caveat, the reviews a games get doesn't equal sales, but typically the correlation is the more reviews a game gets, the more sales it gets. So getting reviews is really important on Steam. So 30% of all reviews go on the top 0.1% of games on Steam. 70% of reviews go on the top 1%. If we expand that to the top 5% of games, that's 90% of the reviews, and 95% of the reviews go on 10% of the top games. So that's only 5% of reviews are on the bottom 90% of games. So the reason they're doing this is to try and flatten that curve and give more power to the smaller games, get them seen and let them succeed more, rather than the top games taking all of the limelight and those being the only ones that are discoverable. So that's the reason behind this. And as we've said, I think it's going to be beneficial for users and it's going to be beneficial for developers. And yeah, I would be surprised if this doesn't get through the experiment phase and gradually gets rolled out to everyone. I hope it does, because it feels like the right move for everyone. So yeah, hopefully it pays off. They're taking comments on the forum, so if anyone does go in the experiment and has comments, let them know. And yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Okay. Thanks very much for joining me, Ben. And thanks to you at home for watching. I assume you're at home. You could be in an office somewhere. It seems unlikely in the current state of things, but you never know. This is our last live show of 2020, which makes me sad. But what makes me happy is that we do have more content coming. So if you subscribe to us on YouTube, you will see some festive content over the Christmas period, which I would very much encourage you to go and check out if you don't already. We're Etch Play on YouTube, youtube.com/c/etchplay. In fact, what I'll do is I'll put that in the chat for everyone so they can click that link directly. So yeah, we've got Christmas content coming, and the live show will return in 2021, which is apparently a year that's going to happen. So we'll give that a go, see how that one gets on. Can't be any worse than 2020, can it? So
Don't say that.
I hope you have a very Merry Christmas out there and a Happy New Year, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Shall I play some music?
Yeah, go on. Why not?
It won't be Christmassy. I
People enjoy
don't have the
music.
rights to any Christmas music.
It's Christmas.